They say a pilot's authority at 30,000 feet is absolute. And most days I guess that works out for everybody. You know, keeps the skies friendly, keeps the engines running smooth. But if you ever want to see what happens when that authority turns toxic, when it's used not to keep people safe, but to keep them in their place, well, let me tell you about what happened to me on the morning my whole life was supposed to take off. The morning Captain Richard Sterling decided he wanted me, a black teenage girl in seat 12B, off his flight, off his plane, and if I'm honest, off his world. Yeah, that happened, and it started before sunrise in Boston, with nothing but hope and a suitcase full of dreams. See, I was 17, clutching a boarding pass to LA, and feeling like maybe, just maybe, the universe was finally giving me a shot. I had my acceptance letter to Caltech's summer astrophysics program folded so many times it was practically threadbare, my hoodie from Science Olympiad, a backpack weighed down with textbooks, and an old copy of Cosmos, my heart beating out a rhythm that matched the low hum of the terminal. It was the first time I'd ever flown alone, but I wasn't scared. Not really, because every minute that passed brought me closer to that rocket ship of a future I'd always dreamed of. And if you'd seen me standing there, you'd never have guessed anything was about to go wrong. Boarding was ordinary. The kind of background noise you never really remember. Families wrangling kids, a couple arguing about overhead space, a guy in a suit hammering at a laptop. The flight attendants did their thing, talking us through the safety demo. But even then, I remember something off in the air, this weird flicker in the way Brenda, the lead attendant, looked at me, like I was a puzzle she'd been told to solve, not a person just trying to go somewhere. You know what I mean? 5 minutes turned to 10, 10 to 20, and by the time the captain finally came on to say, there was a minor security issue, the entire mood had curdled. People started checking their watches, sighing, shooting irritated glances around the cabin. Then Brenda was suddenly in front of me, asking me to gather my stuff and follow her. And there it was, that moment I'd always feared, that sharp public knife of being accused without cause. As if I'd set the world spinning in the wrong direction just by being there, I tried to keep it together, tried to ask what I'd done, but the answers were thin as tissue paper. Captain's orders, security protocol, you're delaying the flight. And all at once, the frustration of the crowd landed on my shoulders, like I'd stolen time from everyone else on board just by existing. A woman across the aisle snapped, just get on with it. Some of us have places to be. And that's when something in me snapped back, this thread of pride braided by my parents. All those late nights studying, all the times I'd been told I didn't belong, I just said no. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what this is about. The standoff was a pressure cooker. You could feel the air crackle, people filming on their phones, and I saw Sarah, the younger flight attendant, rushing over, pleading with Brenda, and then the captain, over the intercom, his voice like gravel. If she's not off this plane in 60 seconds, I'm calling security. That was it, the threat. The weight of authority pressed down on me so hard I thought I'd melt into the seat. But still, I wouldn't move. Not until someone looked me in the eye and told me why. But the thing about being alone, truly alone, is you start to think you're crazy. You start to wonder if maybe you did do something wrong. If the problem isn't with them, but with you. And I almost gave in, almost stood up to take that long walk of shame down the aisle, when suddenly, there was a commotion at the front, the hiss of the jet bridge door opening, which never happens after boarding, never, and in stepped my dad, Dr. Marcus Cole, not just my father, but the NASA scientist whose project was the reason this airline had just signed $1 billion contract. And I swear the temperature in that cabin dropped 10 degrees. He didn't say much at first, just knelt beside me, checked I was okay, then turned to Brenda and asked, calm as you please, can you tell me exactly why my daughter is being removed from this flight? And for the first time, the mask slipped, Brenda stammered, the passengers shrank in their seats. Even Sarah looked relieved. It was like someone flipped a switch. Suddenly the game was up, the rules had changed, and the people in charge were scrambling. What happened next was one of those twists you only ever see in movies. My dad made a phone call, not to a lawyer, not to the police, but straight to the VP of Flight Operations. And within minutes, Evelyn Reed herself stormed down the aisle. Suit pressed, voice like thunder, and handed down justice right there in the cabin. The captain was relieved of duty on the spot. Brenda was put on leave, and as for me, I was offered first class. But you better believe I stayed right where I was, in the seat I'd paid for, because I needed everyone to see that I wasn't going anywhere. But the story didn't end when the plane finally took off. If anything, that was just the beginning. See, someone had filmed the whole thing, a student named Alex. And when the video hit social media, it exploded. Hashtags trended. News crews camped outside Sterling's house. The airline's stock tanked, and within days, the captain was fired. His license revoked after an FAA investigation found he'd been doing this for years, targeting passengers who looked like me and hiding behind his badge for a while. My life turned upside down. Interviews, reporters, people calling me a hero when I was just trying to get to summer school. But through it all, my dad kept me grounded, reminding me that the real story wasn't about one man's downfall. It was about the system that let him thrive for so long. About the faces who never made the news, whose dreams were quietly shut down before they ever took flight. The airline tried to fix things. New training, new policies, even a scholarship in my name. And Sarah, the flight attendant who tried to help, ended up leading the whole culture shift, telling her story to new hires, reminding everyone that sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the chain of command. Brenda came back, but her career was never the same, shadowed by the memory of what she'd enabled. As for Captain Sterling, well, his karma was cold and relentless. Fired, bankrupt, abandoned by friends and family, he ended up working night shifts in a warehouse, watching news reports about scholarship kids changing the world, knowing his legacy was a cautionary tale. His name a byword for everything an airline should never be me. I went to Caltech, studied the stars, learned that in the universe, gravity pulls everything toward justice sooner or later. It's just sometimes you have to fight like hell to get there. And you know, I still think about that flight, the faces turned away, the ones who stared, the ones who spoke up. I wonder which one I'll be the next time I see injustice, and which one you'll be, because that's the real question, isn't it? Not whether karma exists, but whether we'll be the force that tips the balance, even when it's hard, even when it costs us something, even when everyone else just wants to get on with their day. So, if you made it this far, tell me, what would you have done if you'd been on that plane? Do you stand up? Do you look away? Or do you pull out your phone and record? Let me know down below. And if you believe we all deserve a seat on the journey, hit like, share this story, and stick around, because justice, like gravity, always finds a way.